back at you another Let's Play episode of Sparks, A Tale of Ink. So yeah, before we jump into it, just wanted to let y'all know that our Patreon is now for as little as $5. Y'all can help support the channel, get some awesome rewards like permanent access to our community Discord server and full access to upcoming Not Safe for Work videos. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right back in. Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright, let's do it. Alright. His streak of being an inconvenience kept going on. If you have been observing, he turned to the entire class now, this is what a positive feedback loop on the basis of the initiator looks like. The Sodite I used absorbed water and the signal was led to the other Sodite that would then redistribute it. As it was the recipient of the signal, it kept going as long as there was input. And that is how the water system in this academy works. Note that down, please. Note that down, please. It will be relevant for the test. Now, everyone can go. Except for Zhangken. I assume there was a reason why you came to attend a lecture for a class you had already passed. After everyone had left, student and professor looked at each other for a few moments, the silence only broken by the rain and wind outside. Then Gale burst into laughter. You have quite the knack for this, you know. Excuse me? You know, causing trouble. Please, you know full well that I don't do it on purpose. Yet it seems like trouble follows your every tiny little step, but that aside, what is so urgent that you needed to sit through a lecture? Well, half of a lecture at least, just to talk to me. Right, you see, I got desperate and looked through any kind of book that was talking about the Sovereign's ascension. Did you find anything important? Anything new about his name, his species, his lover, the strange creature from the heavens that assisted him? No, nothing at all. So, a day well spent then. I hope you enjoy a taste of what it is like to investigate old world business. No, I really don't. But that's not my point. Here, look at this. He produced the scrap of paper. It's not made of the same paper as the book I found it in. Looks like there's some notes here. What is this text on the other side? I can't read it. It's in the verdant tongue. Zhangken, it refers to dragons in some way. To dragons? Yes, here, Drieg. Means dragon. He found the word next to a drawing of what we concluded as being one. This might be a huge discovery as we barely have any references to the creatures themselves. What about the rest of the text? Can you read that as well? Admittedly, no. Not without reference material. Let me copy the text so I can look up what this might mean. Are your studies of the verdant tongue going anywhere? I figured I might try learning more of it when I have further access to the world material from the old world. Right. I would grant you permission, but the whole Historian Association has to oversee your progress and give a majority vote and all that. Which makes the fact that one book written in an old world language has been damaged even more interesting. I was hoping you might know where this belongs to. As I said, I don't. What about the other side? The numbers, the enum? Ascension's truth. Huh? Oh, that's not hard to solve. I think I figured it out already. A feeling of glee overcame Zhangken upon hearing this. Finally, progress. So, what is the solution then? I figured you'd best find that out yourself, lad. As his emotions had soared, they came crashing down immediately. It felt as if a hammer had struck him and knocked the air out of his lungs. What? Oh, you know, proactively in the essence of discovery. Proactivity is the essence of discovery. Do it yourself or you'll never do it. I am unsure where to start then. Well, perhaps you can find the person who wrote it. If they are a student or they're on the Academy's educational body, you know who to ask. I am not going to Gale's sparring lessons. You might just have to. It's all they have scheduled in the next few days, and they like to retreat into solitude after teaching all day. Oh, Ashes, I don't want to hear anything about combat. I don't care. Come on, Zhangken, without sacrifice, discovery is out of reach. Fine, I'll do it. But you know full well that I won't enjoy it. Light speed, lad. Let's meet for lunch again tomorrow in case any of us make discoveries to any degree, yes? Sounds good to me. Second now. With a heavy sigh, Zhangken left the auditorium. Though progress seemed to be imminent, the sacrifice he had to make for it felt as if it favored him less than any other risk that could have been taken. Scenarios of what would come next were already playing out on repeat in his head, like a painter that drew over his own pictures, showcasing only one. He hated it more than touching the water from before. Zhangken could have stood before the door to the auditorium for a few more moments, pondering the very steps that led him to returning here. He pushed away memories of his first, and to date, last lesson in this very room. Alas, he had to go in there again if he wanted to further his own goals, even if it came at the cost of his nerves. He forcefully grabbed the doorknob and felt the antlers dig into his paw. He eased off immediately. Whose idea were these horrible things anyways? Cautiously, he poked his head through the opening to assess the situation. Immediately, the familiar professor's voice toned up his ears. At least he didn't go to the wrong hall by mistake this time. The rows were filled by a huge number of young students, new arrivals who were present at the introduction ceremony just a few days ago. Though the academy didn't force any uniforms on the students or professors, many showed up wearing light clothing. Different colors and fabrics indicated the diverse origins of students at the academy, but the similar cuts of clothes they wore betrayed the picture of a diverse world. They were free to come and study whatever subjects they preferred under a single condition. Everyone that wanted to attend the academy for free had to discover and demonstrate their spark. The lecturing hall had a hanging smell of writing ink and mixed musks of the students, combined with hints of different soaps. The scribble of quills on paper fought a losing battle against the wind, rain, and lightning raging outside. The harmony that would comfort him. Yet it was the subject being taught that filled him instead with dread. In trying to look for a free seat, he stared down to the bottom of the lecture hall, where the familiar white-furred fox kept talking about the history of combat and its current-day applications. This nonsense again. Zhangken mumbled as he took a seat as far removed away from anyone else as possible. Yet he drew a few eyes of attention and smirked. Could he possibly persuade them against learning the arts of combat? Wars were a thing of the old world, after all, unless you were fighting the dreaded dull beasts. You there, girl with the thick arms. What do you hope to gain from learning how to wield a sword? The girl didn't want to draw her eyes away from the professor at the front and tried to answer as subtly as possible. I want to join the Sovereign's army and eradicate the dull beasts. Her voice was louder than expected, and Zhangken flinched in response. Gale did not react to it, though. Shush! But why? There's so many professionally trained soldiers who go and hunt them already. If they fall in battle, they need to be replaced. I need to do my part to make the world safer. After all, they aren't invincible, you know. What do you mean? When I was much younger, my home got invaded by one of those creatures, and a brave soldier sacrificed herself to save us. Her partner killed the beast, and we had to relocate to the capital. Then you could just fight them with your spark, no? What's yours? I can reshape flames. See? That is already such a useful ability to use on the battlefield. Why go out of your way to learn how to wield a weapon of steel? Because... Both the girl and Zhangken flinched as they heard the professor speak up and turn around, their uneven gaze fixed to the two of them. A weapon is not a finite resource. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna do my scholarly voice. But on the battlefield, one quickly finds themselves out of ink. Thus the fool who does not bring a weapon for protection falls to their own arrogance. The girl and everyone else in the lecturing hall as well wrote down what Gale said straight away, while Zhangken sighed in frustration. Now to you, Zhangken. Your comments make it clear you have no intention of learning today. Is your only purpose to disrupt? I actually came to ask a question. During my lesson, why? Is it combat-related? Well, no. Then perhaps it would have been a better choice to wait until after and not complain about me talking about the current subject. Well, I intended to wait, but... Your irrational hatred of weapon-based combat had you talking again to my students during my lesson. I just don't think it's all that useful. I see. Would you join me at the front, then? I'm not particularly fond of... That was not a request. Come here. Now. Zhangken contemplated his situation and slowly made his way up to the front where his friend waited. He could have simply turned around to exit, but that would have left Zhangken standing on even looser foot with him than before. With a heavy heart and a sense of dread building in his chest, he chose to stand right in front of Gale, only barely matching their height. As always, their mismatched eyes didn't betray a single thought that was going on in Gale's head. Though if Zhangken had to guess, what would come next was to be a mix between education and humiliation. At least you seem to understand your situation. Splendid. Dear students, this is Zhangken, one of the oldest students gracing our halls these days. Not because he has been here for very long, but rather due to his late decision to join us here. I decided not by my own accord that my spark awakened so late. You could have always joined us the other way. Whatever, I'm not having this discussion now, not in front of everyone. What is it you want then? I could ask you the same thing. What is it that you promised yourself to get for barging into my lesson? I found a clue while doing research and needed your help. Yet another delusional request regarding your strange quest to prove me wrong in believing that the Sovereign is a true god of the New World, I assume. Perhaps today I shall humor you. if you would be so kind as to assist with a demonstration of stance in their important battle. He would have declined on the spot if it weren't for the fact that he really needed Gale's assistance in the matter, so he stood upright and nodded, despite the impending ridicule that he could already feel on the tip of his tongue. I have to admit, though, I didn't bring any of my countless training swords that decorate my room, so I have to say, then I shall supply you one. I would not be teaching combat if I were not ready to grant arms at any given time, my good friend. Ashes. He cursed under his breath. Gale swiftly procured an additional sword from a rack located near the podium, and then drew the one they were carrying along. Carefully, they laid both of them onto the podium itself and touched each one of them. Sharp. A single word, resounding with power, echoed through the entire lecture hall. A clear shiver could be felt by everyone witnessing Gale's powerful spark at work as they lifted their fingers from the swords. The action had no indicator that it happened. Usually a spark drew with it a visual or audible indicator. The power simply became true. It was not like the swords lost their sharpened edge. Rather, it was as if the swords had always been blunt. As with every time that Gale used their spark, a slight feeling of unease crept over Zhangken, and he could tell from looking at those sitting in the seats. He could see them shivering, confused, or even nauseous. Zhangken could be assured they all felt unease after Gale altered the sword's state, a terrifying power used for such a normal act. There was a reason why Gale had been chosen to become an inheritor of the Twistwood title. With one hand he took up the sword Gale had taken from the rack while the professor wielded their own. It was more decorated than the practice sword he handed off to the students. While Gale fluidly took on a stance he could remember seeing once before, Zhangken tried to follow suit, imitating something that he had seen once in the practice books. His legs slid slightly apart while he held the sword with both hands in front of his body. What are you doing there? Why are you holding the blade with both hands? It could not be clearer that the sword I just gave you is a one-handed weapon. Well, then what am I supposed to do with my other hand, His hands were wrapping around the stout leather of the handle before. Now his left one let go and started hanging off the side. He could admire the simple yet forward work of the sword in his hand for a few more hours if he were given the time, but as Gale already built visible tension, he knew that he would have to react soon. Zhangken tried to assemble his thoughts and memories, drawing a line with his mouth in order to assume a proper fighting stance as well. Right foot forward, left foot back, hand behind his back clutching a fist, blade slightly angled horizontally before him. It looked a bit like the one he assumed before, but this was supposed to give him a better flow of energy. Oh, rain stance. Against another one-handed blade. I really thought you would try something more offensive against my flame stance. Yes, well, I figured I might simply surprise you? Let us assume you put that much thought into your choosing of a fighting style. Come at me then. I am granting you the advantage. Zhangken slashed forward. A futile attempt. Gale immediately hopped back and used Zhangken's uncontrollable step forward. They slashed for a weak point. The swords collided. Gale immediately stabilized while Zhangken's own stance wavered. Sloppy! Gale's used the stance and slashed out again, this time horizontally. Zhangken tried to duck backwards but lost his own footing. He dodged barely by changing his angle immediately. Fool! You are just widening your opening like this! A determined step forward kept their movement flowing, and they utilized momentum to deliver a heavy vertical hit. Zhangken, after finding his balance again, grabbed the sword with both hands and blocked. His core was shaken and he fell, but Gale spun around to recover from the stagger while also keeping the energy flowing. You are thinking with the wrong weapon. A one-handed sword lets you dodge easier. They took a few steps back as if dancing and once again came in for the attack. The sound of a snap sounded through the hall. A small flame had grown on Gale's sleeve after Zhangken used his spark to place some of the flame he had stored up onto them. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!